Okay, welcome back. Now we'll continue our lecture by looking at some of the data visualization capabilities in Excel. So data visualization in Excel involves creating a summary table for the data, as well as creating charts to help interpret, analyze, and learn from the data. We use data visualization to help in identifying data errors, and also it increases our understanding of the data set by highlighting important relationships and trends in the data. So some of the effective design techniques talked about in chapter 3 include the data to ink ratio. And this measures the proportion of what Tufte termed data ink, the total amount of ink used in the table or chart. So it was this guy Tufte who first described the data ink ratio. And it's helpful for creating effective tables and charts for data visualization. Data ink is ink used in the table or chart that is necessary to convey the meaning of the data to the audience, and non-data ink is used in the table or chart that serves no useful purpose in conveying the data to the audience. It's just there because designers of the software package thought it was a useful feature. So we can use tables for data visualization, and we would use tables when the reader needs to refer to specific numerical values. Also, when the reader needs to make precise comparisons between different values and not just relative comparisons. And finally, when the values being displayed have different units or very different magnitudes. So some of the table design principles that were emphasized in the book: avoid using vertical lines in a table unless they're necessary for clarity. Horizontal lines are generally necessary only for separating column titles from data values or when indicating that a calculation has taken place. As we went over before, a pivot table is a cross-tabulation in Microsoft Excel, and more generally, a cross-tabulation is a useful type of table for describing data of two variables, and it lets us do subtotaling along a certain dimension. Okay, let's take a look at a pivot table and how we would do a pivot table. We'll have a couple of hands-on exercises with pivot tables at the end of the lecture, but let's see how we do it first. So I'll switch over and make our new share a spreadsheet. So here we have a list of quality rating, the meal price, and the wait time. And we'll make a pivot table of that. So the first thing we do is we put our cursor in the list. Then we go up to Insert, and then Pivot Table. And the Create Pivot Table dialog box will correctly select the boundaries from our list because it is contiguous. It has no empty rows and no empty columns. And we'll also accept the default of putting it in a new worksheet. So now we have the framework we need for creating our pivot table to analyze the restaurant information on the quality rating. So we'll drag quality rating to the rows, and we'll drag meal price to the columns, and we'll drag the restaurant variable to our values. This is the data. And then instead of summing that, I'm going to do a count of it. So I click the down arrow, select value field settings. Here I'll go to a count from that. And now I've got my pivot table. So if we look at it, you'll notice that we've got a wide variety of column values. Now I can group those common values, and that will give us a better pivot table for us to do analysis. I'm going to right-click one of the elements. I'm going to come down to group, and I'll go starting at 10, ending at 49, and group of 10. So now I've got a much better pivot table, and we can see, okay, in the range from 10 to 19, what my excellent, good, and very good ratings are. For 20 to 29, all the way up through 40 to 49, same thing. So this is much easier to analyze than it had been before. So now I'm going to, we've got an excellent, good, and very good. I'm going to go ahead and right-click this, and I'm going to move it to the end. And so now I have, again, something that makes a little more sense: good, very good, and excellent. And we can change the count we've got. We'll again bring up the framework for doing our pivot table. And in values, I'll go to count of restaurant and click the down arrow and value field settings. And then I'll come over and show values as a percentage of grand total. I could also do percentage of column total or row total. But for now, I'll go percentage of grand total. And so now I've got some ability to look at this one. Now we can change these also to other things. We can make a chart out of this, a lot of different things that we can do. Let's look also at doing a recommended pivot table. So here I'll come up and let me go over to the insert and then tables. And instead of clicking pivot table, I'll click recommended pivot table. And here it gives me some choices that I might want to look at. And so I can select, say, count of restaurant. And it gives me a recommended count of restaurant, sum of wait time, sum of meal price. And of course, I can change these items by going back to our framework and choosing one. And let's say I want, instead of a sum of meal price, I want an average meal price. So I go to value field settings and select average. And now I have average meal price. And I could format this number as well. Let's go ahead and do that. Average meal price, click the down arrow here. I'll go to value field settings, show. Let's do number format. And I'll just choose number with 2 decimal spots. And now it's cleaned up a little bit. So that's our pivot table capabilities. Let's go back to our lecture slides. So charts are a visual method for displaying data. Scatter charts are a graphical presentation of the relationship between 2 quantitative variables. In a scatter chart, you can get a trend line that provides an approximation of that relationship between the variables. There's also a chart known as a line chart, and there a line connects the points in the chart. And a line chart is useful for time series data collected over a period of time. So let's take a look at a line, at charts in general. Okay, and I'll share our data set. So here we have a data set that shows a collection of data points comparing the number of commercials done on products and sales volume for those products. So we might want to look at the relationship between the number of commercials that we run and the sales volume. We might expect the more commercials we run, the higher the sales volume would be. So we'll go ahead and collect our data, which is B2 through C11. Then we'll go over to Insert, and we'll go to a scatter chart right here. Do a scatter chart right here. And here we can see the data points we have, and the number of commercials is along the x-axis and the sales volume is along the y-axis. And it does appear that as we start adding commercials that the sales volume does go up. Now we can also add a trend line. So I'll just select one of the data points here. Oops, there we go. If I can right click this. So I've right clicked one of the data points in the scatter chart. I'm going to say add a trend line. And it looks linear to me, so I'll select a linear trend line. And I'll display an equation on the chart. And I'll move this equation over so we can see it a little better. Now, what we have is with the scatter chart, we have seen a visual example of the relationship between the number of commercials and the sales volume. We've put in a regression line. We've also created the regression equation that would equate how the sales volume Y is related to the number of commercials X. So we've done all 3 things with just using a scatter chart. And again, we can also use recommended charts for this data as well. I'll get rid of this one. And I'll do this. Oops. we'll select the data, then go to insert, and I can go to recommended charts. And we can see at the top of the list is a scatter chart. I click that, and I can continue on from where I was before. So we can either manually go to scatter chart, or we can just go to recommended charts and let Excel recommend the chart to us. Okay, let's also take a look at some line charts. So I'll go ahead and open up the data set for that. And then I'll close this one. Okay, and I'll go over to Kirkland, which is our new data set. Let me close the electronics data set. No, I do not want to save. Okay, so here we've got the Kirkland data set. And here we see that it's month and sales for that month. And remember, one of the things we might use a line chart for is time series trends. So this looks like it's a time series trend. So let's go ahead and select our data right here. And we'll go to insert, and we'll go to our line charts and just select the line chart. And here we've got a trend over time. And looking at it, we might say that we've got something of a seasonal pattern. It looks like we get our peak demand in the summer, and then it falls off in the fall, remains fairly low in the winter, and in the spring it starts picking up initially, but then there's a fall between late spring and early summer. So there might be some seasonality in it. Again, this is just a way that we can look at the relationship, in this case over time, of sales. Now, another type of chart we might use is a spark line. And this is a special type of line chart. It's a minimalist type of line chart that can be placed directly into a cell in Excel. So instead of being in a separate chart, it takes up a large part of our landscape in the canvas on Excel. It'll just be all fitting, the entire chart will fit into a cell. So it takes up little space, and it can be used effectively to provide information on overall trends for time series data. So let's go ahead and open up another spreadsheet where we can take a look at this effect. So I'll open up Kirkland Regional, and then close out this data set. Okay, so we'll make a new share. Now we see Kirkland Regional, and I'll close the other data set so we get some more memory. Okay, so here's Kirkland Regional. So I'm going to go ahead and insert a spark line. So I'm going to say I want to look at the trend in sales between north and south, the north region and the south region. So I'll put my I'm going to put my trend, my sparkline chart in at the bottom of each one of the columns of data. So to insert a sparkline, again, I go to insert like I've done for my other tables and charts. Here, I'm going to go over to the collection called Sparklines. I'll click that, and I'm going to put in a line chart. So the data range I want is going to be B3 through B14, and I want the sparkline to be placed in B15. So I'll go ahead and click that. And now we see our trend line in cell B15. Now I can also just copy this by going over to the bottom right corner, dragging the chart over, and now I've created a trend line, a sparkline chart, and also a trend line for my southern region. So you can see these are much less invasive for our Excel worksheet. They take up a lot less real estate. Okay, another type of chart we can do is bar charts and column charts. Bar charts use horizontal lines to display the magnitude of a quantitative variable, and column charts use vertical bars to display the magnitude of a quantitative variable. And then bar chart and column charts are helpful in making comparisons between quantitative variables. So let me open up a worksheet, a data set, which of course are worksheets in Excel, and we'll take a look at that. So I'll open up this one, and then want to move the share over to it. There we go. And we'll share this one. And then close the Sparkline data set. Okay, so as usual, we're going to select the data we're interested in. And in this case, it's A2 to B9. And we're going to go to Insert. And I'll come over here and select a clustered column chart. And now I've got it. So we can see the relative magnitude of the sales or accounts managed by each of our account managers. Let's go ahead and sort the data and see how that changes things. So I'll come back over here. This time we'll go over to data and we'll sort, and we'll sort on the number of accounts managed, smallest to largest. And we now get a better idea of who's doing the, has the most accounts to manage and who has the least accounts to manage. Pie charts are another common form of charts used to compare categorical data. Remember, the authors mentioned they don't like pie charts or 3D effects. They find that they detract from your ability to make relative comparisons. It's better, in fact, to use something like a simple bar chart to get that relative comparison between, the values for a categorical variable like account manager. Bubble charts are another form of chart, and it's a graphical means of visualizing three variables in a two-dimensional graph, and it's sometimes a preferred alternative to a 3D graph. So let's take a look at bubble charts next. So I'll go ahead and open up that data set. And there it is. Change our share. Now close the old data set. So now we have the number of billionaires in a country, per capita income in the country, and the billionaires per 10 million residents in a country. So we can use a bubble chart to help us analyze this data. So let's go ahead and select our data. We'll go B2 through B7. We'll go up to insert, and then we'll go down to our scatter or bubble chart. And this time we'll select our bubble chart. And then we'll go ahead and click on the plus sign, and then click on add data labels, and we'll go ahead and put data labels in there. And now you can see we've got the per capita income over each one of our bubbles. And we can do more than that if we select an item, and we can go ahead and get format the data labels. And now we can get value from cells. So I'll click that one, and I'll go ahead and just select the countries, and I'll put that. So now, in addition to the per capita income, I also have the country for the bubble. And again, we can go back and format data labels again. And let's say that the Y value kind of gets in the way, so we get rid of that. And now we just have country. So, you know, we can move these around, and obviously if I make this chart bigger, it becomes a little better. So we can see the relative number of billionaires against the per capita income and so on. So we have a lot of flexibility with bubble charts to show multiple levels of data in a single chart. Now a heat map is similar to that. So let's go ahead and open up a data set where we can use a heat map. So I'll go to same store sales. And there we go. And I'll switch over to this. Close out billionaires. So as you can see, we have a lot of data in this, but it's not immediately obvious to us what's going on in terms of sales. So let's go ahead and do a heat map. So instead of using insert, this time we'll go to home and click conditional formatting, and then we'll go down to color scales, and we'll choose, let's say, this one. So let's first select the data, then we'll make our color scales. Okay, so then we come up here, go to color scales. Now we get something of a better idea about what's going on. And that we can see in red is when we're in the negative territory, and blue is when we're getting into positive territory. So over time, it looks like St. Louis started out in bad shape. It's been improving consistently. Whereas Miami started out in good shape and it's been consistently getting worse and worse. So that helps us. Now we can also add spark lines there. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll increase the size of our chart. Okay, so I'll highlight this. I'll go to Insert, and then Spark Lines. I'll do a line. So I'm going to select this. And this will also show us that trend for St. Louis data. And then I can pull this down over the entire data set. And we can get an idea not only from the heat map, but also from the spark lines on exactly what's going on. And as I mentioned, Miami looks like it's in pretty bad shape. On the other hand, Cincinnati looks like it's doing well. They started out in bad shape, but they've really come on like gangbusters. Austin has been consistently strong throughout. So between spark lines and the heat map, we get a pretty good idea of what's going on with our data set. So I'll close this back down. Okay, let's go next to so we can look at a stacked versus clustered, and again, the authors like a clustered graph better than stacked. They think it's easier to tell the difference, relative strength or relative size between elements with a clustered than it does with a stack. So let's get an example of that. So I'll open up a data set where we can show that effect. And we'll go to Kirkland Regional again. And there it is. So I'll switch, make that our share. Close out the other one. Okay, and there we have it. So let's go ahead and show this. So I'm going to select A2 through C14, go up, select bar charts here. So here is a clustered, and let's take a look at this for just a moment. And you can see that it's easy to compare north and south sales. North is in the blue, south is in the red. So it's very easy to see them in comparison. Looks like the south is doing better in the months of fall, October through December, but the north is doing best in all of the other months, so throughout the rest of the year. This is the way the authors prefer making this type of comparison with a clustered chart like this. Well, let's get rid of this, and then let's take a look at the one they don't like. So we'll come back to Insert. We'll go here, and we'll do a stacked chart. Now, it's their opinion, and in looking at a stacked chart, it's not immediately obvious which ones are better and when a particular element is better than another element or has greater values than another element. It's one of these cases where you have to use your analytic thinking, and it's not immediately obvious at first glance. Okay, and of course we have talked about pivot charts, and they are used to summarize and analyze data with both a cross tabulation, subtotaling, as well as charting. And so Excel gives you the ability to pair pivot tables and pivot charts. So let's take a look at those. So I'll open up our representative data set here. And share that. There we go. Close my other data set. Okay, so here we have, let's go ahead and create a pivot chart on the quality of the rating we get as compared with the meal price and the wait time. So we'll create a pivot chart with that. So again, I'm going to select my data. So I'll go like that. Then I'll go up to insert and I'll go over to pivot chart and I'll insert a pivot chart. I can also insert a pivot chart, a pivot table if I want to. So I can do both of them at the same time. We'll just focus on pivot chart here. And I'll put it in a new worksheet. And I get my framework here. I'll drag meal price to the legend. I'll drag wait time to values. And I'll go quality to axis categories. And I'm going to change, instead of sum of wait time, I'm going to click the down arrow, go to value field settings, and I'm going to select the average of wait time. Okay, then likewise, I get, of course, my chart here, and you'll notice I've got a lot of different time or meal prices there. So let's group meal prices. So I'll right click one of the column labels. In the pop-up menu, I'll click group. I'll make it groups of 10, starting at 10 and ending at 49. So much better. Notice how, and let's also change the format so we don't have these long decimals that can be distracting. So I'll go to number format here. I'll go to number, 2 decimal places, click OK. So now that's a little better. So now we get a pivot chart as well as a pivot table with the information. And of course, I can likewise shift excellent, move it to the end. And now we're in good shape. So pivot charts, again, are useful for visualizing what's going on with subtotaling, where we want to do a cross tabulation, where we're relating one variable with another and they're both categorical variables. Let's finally talk about a tree map, and that's useful for visualizing hierarchical data among multiple dimensions. So we'll take a look at the Global 100 companies, and let me open up that data set. So a Global 100. Okay. And I'll share this one. and I won't save that. Okay, so now ready to go. This can be memory intensive, so I have to keep everything closed. Let me go ahead and select the data. So I'll go and I've selected everything. Then I'm going to go up to insert again, as we've been doing. I'll select the hierarchy chart button, this one, and I'll make a tree map out of this. Well, let me try that again. Here we go. Okay, so now I have a tree map. Again, it is fairly memory intensive, so I can move this chart around. I'll increase the size a little bit. Oops, that's a little bit too much. There we go. So we can see the different types of the different companies and the regions that they're in and their relative size. So I'm going to look at formatting the data series here. And I'm going to make it banner rather than overlapping. That might make it a little better. Then I'll come back to our chart. And there. So we can see the largest company in the world is Apple. It's in the North American region. Looks like ExxonMobil, Google, Microsoft are all fairly large, Berkshire Hathaway, and so on. And then over in Europe and Asia, Australia, you have a series of companies and their relative sizes as well. So this is a tree map. It's another way of visualizing the data that you can find perhaps useful in what you want to do. Now, there are other advanced visualizations you can do in Microsoft Excel. Those aren't always available on the Macintosh. So just to be consistent between our Mac and our Windows users, we'll stick with these. Okay, let's now go do some of the problems at the end of the chapter.